My name is Hernan Gomez Chavez. I was born and raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm an interdisciplinary artist who predominantly works in sculpture and installation art. The title has like a double meaning because it's actually based on a 21 Savage song that's by the same name, like Runnin', Runnin'. But it's also referring to gun running. So the act of like the American government or people that are actually selling arms here in the U.S. Transporting them or running those arms down to Mexico. So that's what the title refers to. I'm somebody who actually has firearms myself. So I'm of the belief that they serve a purpose. I'm also very much of the belief that they're not supposed to be toys. I think it's way too easy to access firearms here in the US. Whereas if you compare like the politics in Mexico, there's only one place in the entire country where you can purchase firearms legally. You have to go through a very stringent process to do that. And it's in a military base in Mexico City. That's the only place where you can purchase firearms legally in Mexico. Whereas here, while I was doing this, I went to Big Five and like in 20 minutes I walked out with a 12 gauge. 20 minutes, and I was like, yeah, and I was telling them, like, I'm doing this for an art piece related to like gun violence. It's like, yeah, bro, I know what that's about. It's like, no, you don't, because you're part of the same people that are saying that it's okay, that this process is so easy. So even though I have firearms, I still understand that it's a very nuanced issue. I mean, we're living in a time where it's like, we're so desensitized to gun violence in this country that it's just like okay to buy them like they're candy. It's like, no, there's something obviously wrong with that. So I wanted the white flag in the center, which is like initially like a white panel, to be like, you know, like the flag of peace. You think of a white flag and you think peace, but it's like there's no way we're actually gonna have peace, even though there's this really interconnected relationship between the US and Mexico. I destroyed this panel, and the intention originally, because I was going back to the operative under the Obama administration called Fast and Furious. That's where you actually see the still from the first Fast and Furious movie, from like the ending of that movie, in the center of this panel there, because it's referring back to that. And then that adds to the layer of this idea of like running again. So it's like, you know, keep moving forwards, this idea of like progress and like, again, violence and aggression is like very tied to these things. It went through different iterations because all of these shells I collected from Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So you see all these shells underneath, and they're like shotgun shells, like AK-47, you got like 5.56 and 2.23 from like AR-15 rifles. So I was collecting all of these from like La Cieneguilla, which is in Santa Fe, and also here on the West Mesa. And I wanted to use these as a way to refer back to the casualties of war from the drug war in Mexico. It's a theme that I think about a lot. Like, what does globalization really do to communities that are in the periphery of like the U.S. empire? And I use the word empire kind of loosely because, like, I don't know, I feel like it's something that's been overused, but it's very true to what like the U.S. impact around the globe, and especially in like Mexico and Latin America, has had over time. So like, if you look at all this, like, I mean, I was able to gather all these shells and speak on an issue that's like very much like on both sides of the border, but it's related to this idea of empire and this love of guns that's like part of this culture that's completely American. And I think in some sense that's also been exported to Mexico. Malverde was possibly a real person. The thing is, there's a lot of like myth and legend around this figure, and they think he was like some sort of Robin Hood that was stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, and somebody that actually was killed because of he was doing these things. And now he's become a sort of patron saint for the narcos. So you see all these like nichos in different places in Mexico, and he's represented. Or even if like you go to Yerberias, sometimes he's there next to like La Santa Muerte. So it's like this, again, this idea of like violence being attached to that, and like this goal for riches. Like if you look at the bottom of it, and see that this I actually purchased from a place in California. So I'm having trouble finding these, but you can see that there's like rice and coins and skulls. So again, this like, it's tied to these themes of death, but again, like we're gonna live here for a short time, but we're gonna be living here for a good time. Like we're gonna have a good time even though it's gonna be a short time. So that's sort of like the narco mentality, and it's very apparent in like a lot of the stuff you see with narcos in Mexico. Like they have these big trucks, they like always wearing like big gold chains or like really nice like Dolce and Gabbana and that sort of thing, and they have a really short life. They're not going to be around for much longer, so they get into that because there's not a lot of access to, like actually making a good life in Mexico. There's just a lot of things tie back to NAFTA and the fact that led to this being a viable option for a lot of people in Mexico. There's just a lot of like nuance to these issues, and I think it's really important to kind of think about how are we gonna really move forward. To be a part of this group it's a huge honor. But yeah, like I said, it takes a lot. Like I'm 31, and like it's not like this piece is something that's gonna get sold. It's something that's like probably gonna travel some more. But as an artist, like this is one step that could possibly lead to like me making a living as an artist. But right now I came from Belen, like I told you, like I came over here because I was picking up some metal for another job. So my real job is like I'm a welder, fabricator, like do construction and that sort of thing. But I want to actually continue to develop my practice and gain some more recognition so that this can become like who I am.